PTF, and Marshall Gramm for another installment of the Kentucky Derby Monster Pod 2025 in the Money Media. Make sure you subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel to get all these Monster Pods. Also, let us know your thoughts on these contenders. Marshall, I asked you who you wanted to talk about. You told us Cole Battle. Let's hear about this horse. I know he's one of the great stories on the Kentucky Derby Trail this year. Maybe we start there.
Well, I mean, look, I had to take him. He's the Oaklawn horse. He won twice. He won the Smarty Jones and the Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn. So he's kind of the hometown horse, and it's a great story. A 72-year-old Lonnie Briley, who's been a long-time trainer, mostly Louisiana-based, buys himself. They buy a nice horse for his owner, $70,000. They spent it at the Texas sales, and look, they're on the Derby Trail. They got a very nice horse. Horses won $1 million, right? The Rebel had a big purse. The Smarty Jones had a $250,000 purse. And so he's 5'7" lifetime. And, his 5'8" lifetime. His 2 losses were on the turf and finished 3rd last time in the Arkansas Derby. So there's a lot to root for. I don't know if there's necessarily a lot to like about him.
We'll get there in a minute. Let's talk about this idea of a good horse and how they can come from anywhere and pause on that for a minute. I mean, some of the horses we're going to be talking about in these videos, price tags in the 7 figures. Pretty cool to have one who can get to the 7 figures in earnings off the $70,000. I mean, these are the kind of stories that make racing really special, especially when you could throw in, a guy in Briley who seems like could be a character in a book.
Yeah, that's for sure. And what's interesting about that is $70,000 is actually a lot of money for a colt front. Colt front stands for $2,000 in Louisiana, and this is not a Louisiana bred.
Right.
It sounds like reading the story that they couldn't get a van back to Louisiana, so they dropped in Kentucky, and he was selling at the Texas sale where he must have really stood out. And they had planned to spend $15,000, but they really liked the horse, and it got bid all the way up to $70,000. And so, oftentimes you have buyer's remorse when that's the case. But here, I mean, they really got something out of it. So you're right. It was a great sale, forever sold and bred the horse, but also a great purchase of horse again. Like I said earlier, he's made $1 million and has won 4 stakes races.
Yeah, no joke at all. And let's talk about that Arkansas Derby, because my gut about that race is it's not as bad, not the 3rd in the Arkansas Derby is bad, but it's better, I should say, than it looks on paper when you consider the pace dynamics that day and who won and where he came from. Fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know what to do with these races. He's been in 2 consecutive races that have completely collapsed. And if you sort of go back through all his form, really since the Remington race, there have been races that have really been determined by the pace of the race, sort of a textbook example of the pace of the race. If you go back to Remington, the Springboard Mile, which is sort of him showing up to prime time, he'd won the Jean Lafitte before at Delta Downs, but he won the Springboard Mile, and that race day had a very fast pace. I know you look at it, 23.93 and 47.46 as far as the pace fractions that were set by Speed King. Among others. But if you compare that to the rest of the times that day, those are very quick. On the algorithm that I use for pace figures, that the pace figure is about 3 percentile, meaning 97% of all races are slower. So I had that as very much a meltdown, and he got a perfect trip, a little bit of an inside out trip to catch Speed King right at the end. And Speed King's turned out to be a very nice horse as well. And then into the Smarty Jones, where the pace was really slow. He was with the track that day. The track was playing to the outside, and he was outside on a slow pace. He was pressured, but it was a slow pace, and then he finished really well, again, given how slow pace it was. And then into the Rebel Stakes, that race had a meltdown in front of him. Both the Rebel and Arkansas Derby melted down in front of him. And in the Rebel, he was able to get up and win. In the Arkansas Derby, he finished 3rd. And again, all of these are strong efforts. Even the Arkansas Derby was a stronger effort. He made the first move to pass Cornucopia and then got swept up by Sandman and Publisher. But so, in some ways, his record looks quite good.
Want to let folks know this video brought to you by our friends at TwinSpires.com, the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge coming up on Derby Day. You can qualify all month long. TwinSpires.com, navigate over to that tournaments tab, get involved with horse racing's latest major tournament. I thought he was too close to that pace demonstrably last time in the Arkansas Derby, as opposed to the more setup type runs from those previous efforts. Does your data not look the same?
Well, I think he was pretty far back. He was the leader of the horses in the second pack, but they were way behind Sandman and Publisher. So,
Gotcha.
back behind him, he was only a length ahead of First Division and Best Friend Rocket, who were fourth and fifth. Now, again, he was leading that second pack, and they were still going pretty fast, but they were quite a bit behind, just pulling up the incremental pace. He was going fast, but not ridiculously fast.
Okay.
Maybe that's, you could use that as an excuse as to why Sandman and Publisher, who were last and second to last, were able to blow by him. And he made the first big move to put away Cornucopia, but he didn't finish that well, right? He didn't run off from Cornucopia, and he has a little bit of a tendency to get in front and hang, not totally want to go by that last horse. And I really worry that he's a miler. I'm wondering if that last 16th of a mile did him in. He's by Cole. Again, he's indifferently bred. He's by a $2,000 stallion, which makes sense given all parts of his story. But Cole Front is, his average winning distance is 6.5 furlongs. His dam won 9 times and was stakes place, but she was a 4.5 furlong sprinter in West Virginia. The second dam was also a sprinter. Both of those horses both the dam and second dam were black type horses as 2-year-olds. And so they were early developers and sprinters. And I just worry that this horse is really a miler that will get exposed on Derby Day. I will say that going into the Arkansas Derby, I was very high on the horse. And even a little bit afterwards, I kept thinking, here's a horse that probably has a lot of finish and maybe hits the board in the Derby at 30 or 40 to 1, but now I'm much less sure. Even looking, if you look at these new GMAX Equibase charts, they give stride length, and the size of the horse is not everything, right? If Fleet Alex is only like 15.2, but Coal Battle is pretty small. I mean, his stride length is less than 24 feet. Compare that to Sandman, who's over 27 feet. So this is a smaller, short striding horse who turns over his stride very quickly, and he makes these big moves around the turn. I just wonder if he'll make a big move around the Derby turn, then flatten out. So, he's one that I'd love to make a case to hit the board, and I love the way he was finishing in the Rebel. He is a horse that clearly is very sound, and they probably train him very hard, so have a lot of bottom under him. Again, he's raced 8 times, but I just worry that he's a sprinter miler, and he's one that could ultimately be a very nice miler when he gets cut back. So I've gone from maybe to hit the board to probably, horse that is in the back half of the field.
Outside looking in. Great analysis as ever. We'll have to talk to you more about that stride length stuff. That's fascinating data. Marshall, always great to have you on these airwaves, and we're going to have you back very soon.
Great. Appreciate it. Thanks, Pete.